Lithuania has started building a fortified fence along its border with Belarus in an attempt to stop its neighbor sending migrants illegally into the EU. The double, barbed wire fence will run for 342 miles to cover most of the nearly 423-mile frontier and will cost a total of €46 million, according to Lithuanian Interior Minister Agnė Bilotaitė. The first stretch of the fence was installed on Friday in southwestern Lithuania next to the border with EU neighbour Poland. Lithuanian Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė also claimed on Wednesday that Belarus had been offering migrants flights to the Belarusian capital Minsk, specifically to dispatch them across the border into Lithuania. Šimonytė said the main airport from where people flew into Belarus was Baghdad, and her foreign minister said people also came from Turkey. Relations between the two neighbors are tense following the August 2020 elections in Belarus, which were won by longtime President Alexander Lukashenko but have been widely condemned as rigged. Lithuania, which has backed and granted refuge to Belarus opposition figures, accuses its neighbor of organizing the border crossings by people mainly from Iraq, the Middle East and Africa. In the past 2 months, more than 1,500 people have crossed into Lithuania, 20 times more than in the whole of 2020. According to Lithuanian authorities, hundreds of migrants have been flown into Belarus and subsequently sent across the border into Lithuania in recent days, most of them Iraqi citizens. The government said the military-style wire coil used to protect the border would initially cost €4.9 million to put up and run along most of the frontier, but plans to reinforce the barrier with a 2-meter-high border fence topped by razor wire will cost an additional €41 million, according to the Interior Ministry. Lukashenko has been in power in Belarus since 1994, but his rule came under intense scrutiny last year when he won an election that is widely thought to have been rigged. On Tuesday, the Belarusian president openly declared that Belarus would open the borders to allow a flood of migrants into Lithuania and the EU in retaliation for sanctions imposed after Belarus diverted a Ryanair flight on May 23 to arrest an opposition journalist. "We won't hold anyone, they are coming not to us but to the enlightened, warm and cozy Europe," he added mockingly. "If someone thinks we will close our border with Poland, Lithuania, Latvia and Ukraine and will become a holding site for those running from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Tunisia and further down Africa, he is misguided to say the least," the president said on Tuesday. Belarus is guarding the border now only as much as it is profitable to it and as much as it can financially, the president said. In a related move, Lithuania's parliament will meet on Tuesday to urgently pass legislation streamlining asylum application reviews, including shortening their initial review to no more than 10 days, the prime minister said. Lithuanian authorities last month built a temporary refugee camp at Barbed, roughly 25 miles northeast of Vilnius, in an attempt to shelter and protect the migrants which it says are being encouraged to cross into the country by Belarusian border guards. Lithuania's foreign ministry summoned the head of the Belarus embassy on Wednesday to demand that Lukashenko end the flow of migrants. The Prime Minister told the national broadcaster she did not expect the migrant flow from Belarus to subside on its own. As the Belarus regime is making money from these people for visa charges and, I think, gets other income from them as well, it would be difficult to expect any positive trend without additional means of impact, she said.